It's kind of insane how the SAT is every high schooler's worst nightmare, but it doesn't have to be so scary if you know how to study right for the SAT. So I see a lot of people not knowing how to study efficiently, maximizing their time for the SAT. So with this, I wanted to share you guys the recipe for success for studying for the SAT and finally making your parents proud. So if that sounds good, let's get started. So the first thing that you should know, and I think this should be your foundation for how you set your SAT studying, is that you need to abandon your ego. So I don't care if you did amazingly well on the PSAT. I don't care if you've done well in your high school so far, you've gotten straight A's. Well, the SAT is a different beast, and it's something that you should not underestimate. You need to allocate a sufficient amount of time to studying for the SAT. Because even if you're a very intelligent person, well, the SAT is not the best measure for intelligence. It's more of a game that you have to play, and the best people that do well on the SAT know how to play that game. So do not underestimate the SAT wherever you are, because unless you've already taken the SAT and already scored a 1600, well, there's no reason to underestimate the test. And with number 2, and this is something that holds back 90% of students, so having study discipline. So anybody could have a dream of scoring a 1600 on the test, but the main thing that holds people back, and it's not intelligence, it's having the discipline to actually sit down and study for the test. So a lot of people will try to set a plan and be like, I'm going to study 2 hours per week. Oh, I'm going to do a test every month. Well, that's nice to say, but are you actually going to do that? Week in, week out, month over month? Well, that's what holds back a lot of people, because the topics on the SAT, they're not intellectually shattering. You're not studying something like physics. No, it's subjects like Algebra 2, reading, and writing. So since these are subjects that anybody can master, it just comes down to, are you willing to put in the time to studying for the SAT, to doing practice exams, and going back on those practice exams and figuring out your mistakes? That's what it comes down to. And are you willing to have that study discipline? And the third thing that you should know is that you need to leverage external resources. So my favorite external resource right now is Acely. So Acely is made by former Stanford grads, so you know the product's good. And it's something that I wish I had when I was studying for the SAT, because it's your one-stop shop for everything you need to do for studying for the SAT. So say you scored a 1200 on the PSAT, and you're shooting for a 1600. Well, Acely will tell you how many hours that you need to put in to getting the score that you want. So it's a study planner, and you also don't have to worry about running out of practice problems, because Acely has unlimited practice problems. And if you're worried about not understanding the material or being able to understand your mistakes, well, Acely also functions as a tutor as well. So it comes with an AI chatbot similar to ChatGPT, where all you have to do is type your question and it'll tell you a thorough answer to your question. So rather than alternative methods, I think it's straight to the point, and it's the best way to study for the SAT. So if you want to get started on Acely, you could go ahead and use my discount link in the description, and it'll also be pinned in the comments to get $10 off your first month. So go ahead and check out Acely. It's definitely something I wish I had when I was studying for the SAT. And thank you to Acely for being the sponsor of this video. Okay, and the third thing that you should know is that you need to have a plan and execute that plan. So like what I said, anybody could dream of scoring a 1600 on the SAT, but what holds people back is that plan and executing that plan. So with Acely, you'll already have your study planner, but say if you don't use Acely, you need to create your own manual study planner for you. How many hours are you going to study per week? How many practice exams are you going to do per month? Well, you need to create a guideline for yourself on studying for the SAT. And then secondly, you need to be able to execute that plan. That's what holds people back, and I don't want it to hold you back. So remember, plan and execute. And the fifth thing that you should know is to run your own race. So comparison is the thief of joy. So I see so many people where they compare their test scores to other people, but really you should be focused on yourself. You should be focused on other people, because if you're focused on other people, well, you might as well focus on like the other thousands of students that are studying for the SAT, which will be a waste of energy. So the best way to go about this is to not even compare yourself at all. Don't tell people your test score. Don't brag at all, even if you score great. Just focus on yourself, run your own race, and just focus on you. And the last thing that you should know before it actually goes dark and you can't see me anymore. So to practice in real testing conditions. So if you ever played a sport, your coach has probably told you before to practice the way that you're going to play in real games. Well, that applies to the SAT as well. You want to be able to replicate the test conditions as much as possible. So whether that's getting a timer for knowing how much you have to take on the certain section, or taking real breaks in between to replicate the exam, or using the same pencil as you would in the exam, or wearing the same watch that you would. Okay, maybe not those two, that's a little excessive. But basically, you want to replicate it as much as possible because you don't want to have this shock when you're actually taking the SAT of, oh my gosh, like this is completely different from what I did in my studying. No, you want it to be almost one for one, because when you're taking your practice problems, you don't want to be in the habit of taking 5 minutes on a single problem because you can't do that in the exam. You got to be very quick. If you don't understand a problem, move on to the next one. So at the end of the day, replicate what you're going to be doing in the exam so you're not caught off guard and you're in this shock and you do bad. So those are the things that you should know. That should be your foundation for studying for the SAT. I know it could feel overwhelming studying for the SAT, but I think this is the best starting spot for you. With that, good luck on the SAT. Subscribe, like, leave comments if you have any. And thank you again for AceLeaf being the sponsor of this video. Check them out, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.